to the council meeting. First item would be adoption of the agenda.
Move. Second.
On adoption, all those in favor? Motion is carried. We have 3 delegations this evening. The first one is Inspector Walton. You don't really see him in the room. Inspector Walton, we don't have a podium either, so I guess
That's stolen.
Crime rate's just gone up in Comox. So welcome. You can present from where you are or wherever you feel comfortable. We also have Donna Collins here on the Country Multi-House.
All right, I'll do mine right away.
Yours first? Okay,
Yeah.
Sure.
sounds good.
Are you going to be the clicker?
Clicker guy?
Okay.
Give you a little Vanna White. $100 I'll rent you the chair.
So welcome, Donna, and as you may know, we have 10 minutes for your presentation, so we'll carry on.
Thank you. Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, again, my name is Constable Donna Collins, and I'm here tonight to just sort of share with you a new initiative that we'll be working on in the Comox Valley, which is called Crime-Free Multi-Housing. It's been around since, out in BC since 92, 94. And so the idea behind it is for us to work with apartment owners, multi-housing, RV parks, mobile home parks, condo associations, to try to reduce crime in their area and make it a safer place for them to live. It's a 3-phase program. So there's phase 1, which is basically, I'm going to connect with managers and owners of these buildings and problem properties, and we're going to invite them to an 8-hour full-day training day. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that training day will look like shortly here. Phase 2 is a security assessment. So using crime prevention through environmental design, we're going to work with the building and we're going to do a walkthrough of their building and give them suggestions as to what they can do to beef up their security and make it a better community. And phase 3, usually once the building is certified in crime-free multi-housing, they have a social. So it's about bringing the residents together as a community and introducing themselves so they're not just someone down the hall. And then we give them some extra information and meet with them yearly after that. So in their phase 1 8-hour training, we talk to them, we give them the overview about the program, we work about community and police working together. We have someone from the Residential Tenancy Board to come in and speak to them about screening techniques and sort of their rights as a landlord. A crime-free lease addendum is introduced to them. So the crime-free lease addendum is basically, when you sign a lease, you just sign a lease. Now what they're going to do is add this on. So you're going to have to sign to say, I am not going to conduct any criminal behavior on this property. I'm not going to allow my friends to conduct criminal behavior on this property. So once they sign that, it's a little easier for the landlord to work with the residential tenancy office to have them evicted if they continue to do that. Talk about the legislation. We talk about the security assessments that will take place on their building. So those security assessments, I'll talk about that shortly here. And then the value of the safety social. So phase 2, we're going to attend the property. We're going to attend it in the daytime and we're going to attend it in the evening. And we're going to look at things that are going to create problems or may create problems for them. So everything from the lighting around your building, the lighting in your building, the lighting in your laundry room, those places that maybe open themselves to crime. We're going to look at your landscaping, give ideas about how you can reduce your landscaping so that you've got a clear view and stopping people from sort of hiding out in there. There's going to be things to do with locks and peekholes and all that sort of thing. So we make all these suggestions and there is a minimum standard that they have to obtain. Now that being said, it can be expensive. And so we don't expect that to happen overnight. So we're going to work with the building. It could take 3 years, right? This year they may just do their landscaping. Next year they may do their locks. And we're going to continuously work with them in this process. Once they meet those standards, or once they're very close to doing it and we know that they're working strong with us, we are going to give them the crime-free sign. So they get to utilize that in their property. They prove to people that they are looking at reducing crime in their buildings and working as a community. They'll be able to advertise it in the paper and that sort of thing. So in the past, when I've worked on this program, it's been really good because people coming into a community will come in and say, hey, where is a good place to rent? You know, where's a safe place to be? And sometimes even those buildings are not in the best area, but they become the safest place to be, right? Because the landlords are taking care of it, the people are taking care of it. Phase 3 is the safety social, so once they kind of get the sign up and everything, the landlord is going to invite all the residents to come one evening or one afternoon for an hour or whatever. Some landlords take it right to the top and they provide a full buffet dinner for them to get down there. They provide door prizes for them to come. It could be $100 off next month rent or something. So it's about bringing this community together. We'll go there as police officers, we'll do some form of talk with them, and people just get to know each other. So, you know, it's more like ownership of this place versus I just rent here. Okay, so benefits, of course. Well, right now, I'm sure that every single apartment and house has at least 10 applicants to want to rent it, right? So I'm sure right now it's not so much looking at whether we're going to get a renter in, but it's going to be getting a quality renter in. You may have 10 or 20 people applying to rent this building, but it's about getting that quality renter in, keeping your property value up high because you've taken care of the building, safer and healthy community. For the residents, they're going to feel better, they're going to feel part of a community, part of ownership, they're going to know that their landlord is taking care of things for them and they can trust in them when they need to talk to them. And for us, of course, we like this because it's reduced calls for service. And that's actually been something that's proven in the communities that have adopted this. So sometimes at the very beginning you might get an increased call for service because people think they're going to call about everything. But ultimately it ends up reducing calls for service. It gives us a better relationship with the landlords, a better relationship with the community in that building altogether. So this is something that I start making my calls tomorrow. I've got a certain number of buildings that I've already have on our radar and open to suggestions from your community as well as to, you know, is there any buildings that would be good for you to have in this program. So it's not just, it could be storage places, RV parks, everything. It's all that. Any questions at all about
Questions, Councillor Kendra?
Yeah, thanks, Donna. Yeah, we talked earlier, and
Yeah.
I thought this was a really good program, actually. So does this apply to strata units? If you live in a strata, could you?
It's difficult in a strata unit. You would have to have everybody on board in the strata.
Okay.
So if you can't get 100%, then they will. But not to say that we won't still work with that community. They just may not be able to hang a sign.
Right.
Certainly, if we worked with 20 buildings, 5 might only ever become certified, but we still now are at least are creating that relationship, right?
And so when you start this program, is it voluntary, or do you actually go out to all of them and try and recruit buildings to get on this?
Basically, yeah.
Okay,
So
so-
it's voluntary for them because I have yet to see a landlord say no to it because it has only benefits for them, right? Technically, they're living in that building and they want to have a good building. Sometimes we'll get a little pushback from the owner because it costs money, right? And that's why we say it used to be, you know, let's get it done in a year. Now it's, you know what, we stretch it over 3 years and we're just going to work with you and under the same principles and concepts.
And if you have a good, safe building already, this seems like a really proactive approach to keeping it that way and maintaining what you've got.
Absolutely, and we discussed that, right? So I mean, if a building is new or being built, what a great way to start off because you're going to right away going to be certified. I mean, you'll have all those new locks and the new windows and the new doors and all that sort of thing. So it's a great place to start when you need to go on.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Arnott, then this side will go.
Yeah, Donna, as Ken did, I had a talk with you out there earlier. So we have a house in Comox.
Yes.
It's a single owner house. He can be approached and he can be invited to join this program.
Absolutely.
If he doesn't want to.
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to.
Okay, there is single home structure for it as well.
Right.
But I think in the home that you're talking about, it's rooms that are rented out.
Right.
So we technically could actually put that in the multi-housing sort of thing. Certainly, I plan to approach him, that is my plan.
Right.
My question would be, what's the benefit to him? That's what he's going to ask me.
Right.
What's the benefit to me? And is there some teeth in it through your bylaw that would give it a benefit, right? So if he says, well, it doesn't matter, nothing's going to happen, I can just, my neighbors can be a wreck and it doesn't matter. So,
Yeah, so at this point, the onus is on us to enforce any bylaws that may be broken, any fire issues and
yeah,
so on.
and ultimately though, I mean, he may be, I've not met with him yet, right? So I don't know how his attitude will be towards it. Certainly it would be, my idea would be to go in a proactive way to speak with him, right? Because
Yeah.
it only has to benefit him in the end.
Right. Yeah, the shame of it is I happened to ride my bike in that neighborhood about a month ago, actually before the article came out in the paper, and was talking to a neighbor who was in tears, wouldn't let their kids go out into the yard because of this. And in our community, that's a real shame that, number one, that we have, folks that are living in those conditions, but that it impacts such
Yes.
a larger
And
community.
technically, he could probably get a better renter if he wanted to, right?
I would think so.
And that's the discussion that needs to happen, right? Like, I know if it was my property, I want to have a renter that I know is going to take care of my property and bring a good community, not,
Right.
yeah.
Good. So this is very timely, thank you.
Councilor McKinnon, then Price.
Yeah, just briefly, I just want to commend the RCMP for being proactive with this initiative. You talked about relationships and how important that is, and community policing. And I can say that I remember that being very effective as a school administrator when they had RCMP officers in the school
Yeah.
and developing those relationships. So kudos to the detachment here for taking this initiative. I think it's a win-win for sure.
Councilor Price.
Thank you. So the crime-free addendum that you mentioned
Yes.
on the tenancy agreement, can that go on later, or is it only when the tenancy agreement is being signed?
Okay, so there can be a human rights issue around the addendum. So what's happened with most buildings that are doing it is they've created it in a part of the lease, so it's not added on. Some buildings will do this. They'll turn around and they've got good renters that have been there for years and they say, we're taking part of this program. We want to give you this safe community. Will you sign this addendum? And 9 out of 10 will, right? Because they want it to be a safe place so it can be added on.
And then how does that give more teeth to a tenant who actually isn't crime-free?
Well, it's a contract, right? So you've signed a contract to say, I will not do this on your property. If I do, right, then I could be asked to leave. And I'm not to say that it's going to happen within the first instance, right? Because ultimately we want to work with that and say, we're not going to, first time you're out the door, there'll be some leniency to it, right?
And is that available on the tenancy branch site?
They don't have the addendum. Most of them are doing them themselves. And there is some on the crime-free multi-housing, we have some that we offer.
On your site?
Yeah, for sure.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
And now Inspector Walton.
So there's a reward for finest podium.
We didn't sign that agreement, so.
Oh, I got $7 meal deal, 3 small Sunday certificates in case you guys fall asleep.
You've been cleaning up your desk.
Yeah, we're living in a house full of boxes here now, so. Anyways, here we go. Mayor, the councilors, and the senior staff, all 4 of you here. As you're aware, this will be my last meeting with you as your chief of police. But since all the media's here in just massive droves here today, I'd also like to take the opportunity to use their presence and announce that we're running for the mayor of Comox this fall. And if you believe that, you probably believe that we're getting a new detachment before the end of this upcoming ski season. So, anyways, all joking aside, I've always heard it's better to end anything on a positive note, so I'm happy to report that the calls for service haven't really increased this last quarter year over year. You're looking at, for details people, I know there's one guy over there that does details. I think it's down by a whopping 18 calls. So first of all, 0.3%, I think. But I have to remind you though, the last year is our busiest year ever on record, so we're still up there. We just haven't gotten any worse. If you account for the increase in population, we're probably bang on. So we look at, I said, decrease of 18 files from last year. The overall across the Comox Valley, the first quarter, 124. Essentially, there's no change. Most of our violent crime, if you look at your chart in front of you, really didn't go anywhere. But property crime, our prolific offenders continue to impact our crime patterns. However, we've been successful again in sending them back to jail, or in some cases having a nightly curfew imposed upon them. There was an increase, auto thefts of bikes, breaking and entering frauds, I believe, on there. But shoplifting and theft from vehicles were down. So some people are locking their doors, or some people are in jail. Or both. The increase in frauds is we've actually seen a connection to stolen credit cards and vehicle. So leave your car unlocked, you leave your purse in there, you leave your credit cards in your purse. Somebody goes and grabs your credit cards and runs them up at the tap feature in the store before you realize it's gone. So there's your fraud. Some of our crimes are solved by the assistance of video surveillance cameras by our local businesses, so kudos to them for investing in that equipment. And once again, for the last time, you're going to hear me say this, we need to remind people to lock their doors and your phones. So, any questions on the stats?
Seeing none, or Councilor McKenna, you have one?
I just, it really struck me as the total calls for service in 3 months. 4,600 calls, which to my math, I'm not trusting my math here, but is about 459 calls a day to your detachment. How on earth do you survive that onslaught of calls?
That is for 4 months, 4-month period, 3-month period.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're looking at, what have we got, 4 months, it's 1,000 calls a month, that's
90 days divided into 4,600, it's about 1,500 calls a day.
across the Comox Valley. I didn't notice that, I'll take a look at that one.
Anyhow, it's amazing that your operation is able to handle that, and we should be all very thankful.
I just had one.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I was just reading about the Courtney situation where it was the 47th most crime in Canada in that rating. So how? Because I suppose we're too small to come on that list.
You're on the list.
We're on the list. Okay. Okay.
Look down, way down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't even make the newspaper. Good. I just wondered whether, because I had this feeling of being safe.
Oh, you are safe.
Okay.
But safety is all relative, it's all a feeling, right? You can feel safe on the strip in Surrey, but it's all you. It's all how you feel safe. Okay, so we can. No more stats, but once we twice gone.
Well,
Okay.
just to correct the math teacher here, it's about 53 calls a day for the whole valley and just under 6 for Comox. So those hopefully are manageable. That must be the new math, but that's just...
I'm thinking our policing costs should go down. Right?
Well,
He hasn't got to that part.
But you're leaving, you can be honest.
I have an accountant that keeps saying you're not spending enough money. So, guess what? Guess that's more this year. Anyways, we'll get on to the last part here. So 4.5 years ago, I had the honor to be selected as your chief of police. And I've started to look back now as I'm literally living in a house full of boxes and to see what that's a big we here, accomplished together. And I'm happy to say we've made progress on many issues. For those of you that, where's she? It's on 5th Street in Courtney. You'll notice that our bike patrol was returned in 2005. Andrew Waddell started out as a pre-retirement program, and then once he retired, we convinced him to come back as a reservist. And he continues to mostly concentrate on the downtown area of Courtenay and looking at striking a balance between prevention and enforcement. Before you ask me what does it have to do with Comox, I think some of this tone we set in downtown Courtenay also helps to set the tone in Comox right here. We are spending more time in schools with the arrival of Donna Collins, who you met 10 minutes ago, our reservist who transferred in Chilliwack. In addition to the programs she talked to you tonight about, she's also continuing the DARE program in many of our elementary schools. And for those of you that aren't familiar with DARE provides the tools for children to make better choices in life. We've also doubled the number of media and social media releases since I arrived, and I anticipate that Monica will continue to build on the great work of Rob Gardner. The launch of our extended hours at the front counter has been delayed by the introduction of a new province-wide fingerprint and booking system. We anticipate that the public will be able to get criminal record checks over the supper hour and during weekends starting in October.
Time's up.
And I hope to be the one that announced the new declaration, but we continue to work with corporate management to identify solutions for our 35-year-old building. No news there. I leave this year with another projected surplus in the policing budgets, although this year we will get closer to that magic number of breaking even, but we will never break even. But I appreciate the efforts of the town in developing a contingency fund over the last several years to allow us to address these unplanned events we face from time to time. Our major crime unit continues to be highly successful in solving our serious crimes. Charges related to all of our homicides in the last 4 years, and our former team leader, Kevin Mazer, assembled a very skilled team before he retired earlier this spring. Our members and our guards continue to help people, keep people safe. We have administered naloxone and rescue people from ledges, bridges, and rivers, and sometimes rescue people from themselves. Most of these go unnoticed and unreported unless you are directly affected. I appreciate the increasing support from the community addressing community issues, as we talked about tonight. The idea of working in isolation to deal with community issues is becoming obsolete. The more we increase our collaboration with nuisance properties and political offenders, the more impact we'll have on the quality of life here in the town. I firmly believe that your police bring the widest perspective in dealing with the multitude of issues we are called upon to face, but sometimes this is not recognized. The 63 men and women who count on around the clock to help make this community a great place are backed by another 20 or so civilians who keep the wheels turning behind the scenes. This year, extra demands continue on my staff to help with the interface fires. I'm ensuring that the number of municipally funded members deployed to the fires does not exceed what's permitted in the contract. Our goal continues to be to maintain our level of service here while assisting in the challenges of the parts of British Columbia. Our employees continue to amaze me day in and day out. On a personal note, I'll be leaving Comox in 2 days with very mixed emotions. It was not an easy decision to ask to leave, but it was the best decision for me and my family. My wife Wendy and I will miss sitting at Air Force Beach, coffees in hand, just watching the world go by. I believe a great community, which means I believe in great people who do great things. I'd like to take a second or two, this is my free time here, to highlight the good work being done out there by our teachers and our coaches. My 2 daughters have had some great teachers at Rob Road and Mark Isfeld. My oldest daughter remarked how nice it was to actually know her professors due to the small class size at Nick. I'd also like to salute the hundreds of coaches that continue to guide our kids to do great things, even when it's raining sideways in November. So I leave you in the capable hands of Inspector Mike Curvers, the team that I've built over the last 4 years. While Canadians may be known for their apologies, I think we're better known for our appreciation. So in conclusion, council, staff, and to you, the public, thank you for making Comox a great place to live, to work, and to play. Merci, dankeschön, maintenant, nakomik, ganeshish, shishe. Merci beaucoup, thank you, and à la prochaine.
Thank you, Inspector Walton, for those kind words and for your dedication and devotion to this community. and I know from a council perspective, you've kept us very much front of mind in terms of communicating your needs and your wants, and also what things we can do to help make your job easier. And I know there's never an end to those challenges. I do hope that you find your uniform when you go back to Victoria, those boxes, but for those of you traveling down to Victoria, you will be in charge of traffic safety, and so if you're cruising through, make sure you get the post-its being
Can we use your name?
and bon chance, and thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a seat for sale.
All right, hard act to follow, but we do have Tim Pringle here to talk to us about the Brooklyn Creek ecological accounting process. We do have a couple of members of Courtney Council here, as well as the Regional District CAO. So thank you for attending, and Tim, nice to see you again, and welcome. And we'll give you as long as you need. You may need longer than 10 minutes. So.
Mayor Ives and members of council, thanks for the opportunity to talk about this project. I don't know where it's easiest for you to hear me or see me, but I should introduce myself. I'm director of the Partnership for Water Sustainability in BC, and I was the director of this research project, which involved Brooklyn Creek and also Busy Place Creek, which is in the Comox Valley. And the partnership is involved in advancing water sustainability in communities in BC, and we principally work with local government, providing tools and educational materials and processes to help further understanding of water sustainability issues. So this is a good news story. Town of Comox is a leader among BC communities in taking care of a creek shed, understanding what it is as a system, an ecological system, and what services it provides to the community. What I'm going to cover is an overview of what the ecological accounting process is about, the story of Brooklyn Creek as a demonstration application of the ecological accounting process, and what the package of ecological services means in practice. And I have to thank Marvin Penens for the term package of ecological services, because that best describes what a community is enjoying from a resource like Brooklyn Creek or any ecological system in the community. What the ecological accounting program is doing is we're testing a concept, which you're going to hear about. Brooklyn Creek is one case, and Busy Place Creek in the Cowichan Valley is the second case. We've applied for funding to refine the concept over the next 2 years, which means doing more demonstration analysis, and those will be in more urbanized conditions, other than the Regional District of Nanaimo and City of Parksville. We're looking at Shelley Creek there, which is largely rural. And if we get to a stage 3, it'll be about making the process more transferable. And what we've tried to do in this methodology is make it available at a scale that local government can carry out the work rather than having to rely on outside sources for it. So the purpose of the ecological accounting process is to assess the condition of a creek shed. When I say creek shed, we're talking about a watershed, but a creek shed is a small scale watershed, if you like. It has maybe 1 or 2 tributaries. And when we say assess the condition, that tells us how natural is the hydrology in its current state. In other words, the rainfall that comes down, the way it's handled by the landscape and the system, how natural is it? We also calculate what the community thinks the creek shed may be worth, and that's the investment of time, money, expertise, volunteer, and other contributions to maintain and enhance the creek shed. And I'll describe what the package of ecological services is about, and also how that affects what the community thinks of the creek shed and expects of it. So You won't be surprised that our analysis revealed that Brooklyn Creek is a highly modified landscape. It's in 3 jurisdictions, and we concentrated on the town of Comox in our work, but we also looked at the entire creek shed. And as you know, the top portion of the creek shed is in the city of Courtenay, the mid portion is in Area B of the regional district, and the lower portion is in town of Comox. So Janine uses the creek shed in many ways, and here we're talking about ecological services. So the creek shed provides a riparian zone that enhances parks, accommodates greenways, trails, pathways, adds natural amenities, allows salmon to be viewed, and so on. It's also a system that's used for drainage purposes. The town of Comox has 24 rainwater or rainfall sewers that drain into Comox Creek. The creek is expected to convey that water away to the harbor. So it is part of that infrastructure, part of it's engineered, part of it's natural. The creek also serves nature. It provides habitat for aquatic and terrestrial life. It provides things like nesting trees, wildflowers, natural areas, and so on. And the creek shed gives uplift to property values. Properties that are nearer the creek shed tend to have a higher value than properties that are further away that have the same size of a lot. We're talking here about the land value, not the building value. So when you think about what all of that is, it's a concept of the commons. So the commons are features in a community in the urban fabric that everyone has access to. And that access means that it doesn't depend on your money or whether you walk or drive a car. It means it's available. You can go there. You can enjoy whatever those services are, whether it's a park, a trail along a feature like Brooklyn Creek. Schools are a commons. So we're using that concept to describe what underlies the stream corridor and the ecological services it provides, and that's a piece of land that's dedicated to the stream. It's defined under riparian regulations as a setback area plus the stream corridor. And I'll tell you later about how we can do a way of valuing that land. What does the community think the creek shed and its package of ecological services worth? In the case of the town, in 2005, the town faced some serious erosion issues in Brooklyn Creek and had to deal with that. One of the measures that was undertaken was to construct a diversion channel that takes a certain percentage of the high flow of Brooklyn Creek and takes it directly to Comox Harbor. Faced with that remediation reality and the cost of it, which was nearly $2 million, the 3 departments of the town, Parks, Planning, and Public Works, got together with some consideration and consultation with the community, some community organizations, and looked at how could the quality of the stream be improved. That is, how could its functioning and condition be enhanced and maintained. So a strategy was developed. It was carried out over 11 years as annual projects. About $800,000 was invested over that time in this work. The money came about 50% from the town. A certain portion was donated services, and then outside funders like the Pacific Salmon Foundation and others also contributed. So there was a lot of leverage in the strategy to help the town undertake that enhancement and maintenance work on Brooklyn Creek. So what you see today as greenways and areas along the creek are a result of that enhancement. So this is the Brooklyn Elementary site, now Gardy Academy, I believe. So before enhancement took place, this is one side of the school property. The town acquired, I think it was 2.2 acres on this side of the property, and then at right angles going along another side for I don't know how the details of the cost were worked out, but the declared value of the property was $292,000. So some of that was paid, I think, in cash, and some was donated by the school district. And then this allowed the creek to be restored, the creek channel to be restored to a normal or typical natural condition. And it's now a greenway. And there's I think the upper edge is Knoll Avenue. Is that the one end is Knoll Avenue, and then it goes down to Knoll Avenue. So you can see this can be fairly expensive work sometimes, but it's a very successful way of reestablishing the amenity value of a feature like Brooklyn Creek in this case. So we also tried to find out what are some real numbers that local government could use to understand or calculate the value of the land that's underlying the stream and the riparian area that adjoins the stream. So what we did, well, we found out what the number is. In the case of Brooklyn Creek, for our sample, it was $2,700 a meter, or 2.7 million kilometer. That number comes from the following process. We took the stream at a nominal width of 3 meters. We took the required setback, which on each side of the stream is 15 meters. We looked at a sample of private properties, residential lots, along the creek. We calculated the portion of that residential property that's in the setback area. We took the land value of BC assessment for that property, and we got a number. So in our sample, we did 8 properties. We sampled them, and then we took 50% of the value we got as the commons asset value. In other words, our argument is that private owners and the community share certain portions of the creek shed because it happens that those setback areas encroach on private property, but they're also available to the community, at least in the sense of keeping the functioning condition of the creek available for the community. So the commons concept there is that not only do people have certain enjoyment of that commons area, especially the area that's been turned into parks and trails and so on, but also there's expectations about someone must be managing it and maintaining it. So if I'm a private property owner and I have a property backing onto Brooklyn Creek and it's increasing my property value to some degree compared to a similar property further away, we're talking about land value, then I want that uplift to remain in place. I don't want the creek to be degraded. I don't want to see it disappear in 10 years. So that's how we argued for the commons asset concept and how we carried out the valuation. So one of the things that was really important in the success that the town of Comox has had with Brooklyn Creek is that a long-range strategy was developed 11 years ago, and the annual projects were carried out very successfully. Because there is no joint strategy among the 3 local governments that are involved in the creek shed, the work that Comox has done is subject to whatever happens in the upper watershed, good or bad. So it would be a great idea if town of Comox could convince its neighboring local governments to share in a joint strategy. So the investment of Brooklyn Creek, from the point of view of town of Comox, it's prevented further degradation of the stream. It's enhanced the functioning condition along much of its course from Guthrie Road down to Comox Harbor. So I think I'll stop there and just mention that looking ahead, on September 26th, I'll be making a presentation at the Asset Management PC conference, and we'll cover this story at that conference. And in 2019, in April, there will be a symposium in Nanaimo that covers strategies for water sustainability and stewardship, and we'll be updating our work in the Ecological Accounting Project, and we'll cover the Comox story again. Thank you for
Great, thank you, Tim, for your presentation. And there may be questions from members of council. Councilor Price.
And thank you for a great presentation. You mentioned how it could be even better if the 3 local governments in the area work together. How do you see that could work? Is there something already there, a template of other areas that have succeeded in doing this?
Okay, I'll answer it in 2 ways there. The critical thing from a watershed perspective is rainfall comes down, it needs to be intercepted, infiltrated, that means spread out, detained, and then eventually released slowly through the soils and back into the creek and down to the harbor. Because of the changes in the creek shed, water that fell in the upper creek shed, say 100 years ago, might have taken 3 weeks or a month to get to the harbor. Now it takes 3 hours. So it's a huge difference in terms of how the creek shed environment is affected. Because one argument I think the town of Comox could make, besides protecting its sunk investment in the creek shed and asking its neighbors to not jeopardize that, is to also argue that a lot of the community outside of Comox uses Brooklyn Creek and the enhancements that the town has made for enjoyment. So there is a shared benefit that town of Comox has really paid for, but many residents of the valley are using. So I think that is an argument. Unfortunately, in the regional district area, the local government doesn't have responsibility for ecological services. Nobody actually has responsibility to look after that part of the creek. Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure approves subdivision and applications for redevelopment. So that's reactive. They don't act unless somebody is requesting work on the, some kind of work on the land. For the regional district, they can enforce development permit areas, which may have specific guidelines about development, but otherwise they don't have direct power to order something to be done. So a strategy would have to address the difficulties faced by the regional district as well as the concerns faced by the town or the city of Courtney.
Councilor Grant, and then you can.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tim. I enjoyed one more time listening to you. I had the pleasure of hearing Tim Pringle speak at the Water Symposium several months ago in Nanaimo, and from that one presentation, I was left with a whole new impression of what needs to be done as far as our water is concerned. I learned a lot, and I strongly recommend anyone who has an opportunity to attend the next one that they do so. But to get back to the point that you made, in Brooklyn Creek, of course, that the welfare of the entire creek is dependent upon the 3 jurisdictions. And as Councillor Price pointed out, how do we go about doing that? Well, I would suggest that I see the CAO from the regional district here, Mr. Russell Dyson. I see Mr. Doug Hedley here from the city of Courtney. And where did he go? There he is. And Councillor Mike Wells from Courtney as well. I think we're I did that again. We do that here every time. I'm sorry, Bob. I think we're already on our way to working together here in the valley because we all realize the importance of this. These people wouldn't be here if they didn't see the value in the presentation. So thank you for that, and I look forward very much to contacting you others in short order.
Awesome.
Councilor McKinnon?
Yes, I just, you must have ESP, Councillor Grant. I have a commendation and I have a motion I'd like to suggest here if I could. Just a commendation to your group and especially to our town staff for making this happen. It wasn't an easy decision, and it certainly is, our residents are very proud of it, least of which our council. The motion I'd like to present is, I'd like, keeping in mind that watersheds don't generally begin in Comox, but they end here, is that asking our town staff to review the report findings of the Brooklyn Creek watershed and to take steps with the neighboring governments and the regional district to take action to improve hydrology and to maintain, if not enhance, our precious watersheds.
Okay, so as a matter of procedure, we don't usually entertain motions at the meetings that we have delegations, so that would, I suggest, be something that staff could bring back to us at a subsequent meeting. We typically do get reports back from staff on next steps forward, but we don't, as I say, normally entertain a motion to that effect.
Well, that was fairly clear direction there. Do we actually need a motion?
Well, ask the CEO for what would happen in the normal course.
I think they're pretty much on that.
Yeah,
What happens to this report?
I think what we'll do with the report is we will actually have a look at it, bring back kind of a brief summary about what next steps council can take.
And what has been, been done in the past as well.
Yeah, and what our plans are for within our own area going forward as well.
Okay. So I know there has been work in the past along the lines of what you suggested, Councillor McKinnon, so I think staff need to bring that back to us before we really entertain any motions in that regard.
Thank you, I'd be happy with that
Okay.
suggestion.
All right, so other questions of the delegation? This time, seeing none. Thank you, Tim, for your presentation, and nice to see you again. Tim and I got to know each other many, many years ago when I was a young lawyer and he was a little bit younger in Vancouver, working for the Real Estate Foundation. So nice to see him, and keep up the good work. All right, so we'll move on to minutes of meetings for approval, the regular council meeting of August 1st. Approval of those minutes, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. We also had a public hearing that night, so a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor? Motion is carried. We have the management report for receipts.
Second.
Receipt, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Anything arising out of the management report? Councillor Jet.
Just like I did speak with Ally here tonight regarding our wayfinding signage project. And we did get some prices, I guess, on the signs. He thought that they were quite high and wanted to go get some competitive bids. And so we're hoping to come in with a little better price on the signage, and that project should be underway within, he said, before the end of September.
All right. So we'll
So
take that.
that's a small update for that.
Anything further on that, CEO? Okay. Any other questions? Yep. And I guess with that in mind, does this still need to be on the management report? I guess is the next question. At some point, maybe once that's.
Till we see the white of its eyes.
There you go.
When we see the sign go.
Well, we'll perhaps see where we're at by the next council meeting or two. Sorry, Councillor Sloan.
Yes, I'm just wondering, now everybody's back from holidays and whatnot, do we have any update on the storm water management plan?
Jeff? Anything?
No, we have nothing as of yet.
So we're still waiting to hear from the Buckle meeting?
Waiting for this.
Okay, thank you. And one further question is, do we have a court date for the Mac plan?
I don't believe we do. It's sometime in October still to be scheduled.
I understand late October is what I was told last time.
Thank you.
All right. So
Just one more thing on the fixed wing, is that still something that belongs on the management report?
I think the only reason it's probably still there is because I do believe we'll have to do some sort of formal resolution or bylaw to pass the grant name once the building is complete.
Correct.
So that would be to waive
Okay,
the
leave it on there?
Fair enough. So the building is under construction. It'll be a couple of years before you imagine. All right, so moving on to the management report, we have a housekeeping item here brought forward regarding the traffic calming policy that we considered way back in October last year, and staff are seeking that there be an amendment and that it be adopted with that amendment.
Well done.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. So those housekeeping items are now looked after. Thank you, staff, for bringing that back to us. And now, we're going to deal with, in order, 3 different liquor license applications. And just before we deal with the first one, and just ask the planner to explain in brief our role as council to hear these, receive these submissions and then make recommendations, and the extent to which were involved further beyond that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under the legislation, it's referred to council for comment on the liquor license applications. If council wishes to comment, they must do so addressing prescribed criteria set by the province, and those are set out in those recommendations that are contained within the report, so that's why you're finding them quite lengthy and almost like a little mini report by themselves.
All right, so everyone's clear on that. I mean, essentially, we just pass these comments on and recommendations, if any, to the liquor branch to ultimately decide whether the liquor license gets issued in each case.
Correct.
All right, so we'll deal with the first one, which is for 1825 Comox Avenue. Motion to receive all correspondence.
Move. Second.
And all those in favor of receive the correspondence? Motion is carried. And then the planning report, motion to receive that.
Move. Second.
Received. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Now, there are a number of comments on things like the location of the establishment, person capacity, hours of liquor service, and so on. And the commentary is reproduced in the agenda as recommendations or feedback, I guess. And then there is a specific recommendation at the end of all that. So, is our staff looking for us to pass this as a whole package with the recommendation, or do we do them individually? Do we have to read all these out? What is the plan?
One motion for the whole entire recommendation.
So all the comments as listed, and then a motion included at the very end of that is the recommendation. And of course, this does reflect comments on noise and impact on the community and so on, and the method of making submissions. So if you wish, we can put that entire package, A through F, on recommendations, including, sorry, I went too far ahead here. A through F on the Legion, and limitations as suggested in terms of hours of service and provision of bicycle parking spaces. So we put that on the floor for discussion. A motion?
So I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion on the Legion application. Councilor Kent.
Well, there's two issues that arise for these applications in my mind. One's parking and others is hours of operation. And I don't know if we should separate them.
Are you referring to the Legion specifically?
Yeah, the Legion, those issues certainly come to play in that
We
one.
don't need to separate them necessarily, but you can certainly provide your comments. All the comments are reflecting some of the input that we received, but if there's other things you would like to have included, we can certainly deal with that, perhaps by way of an amendment, or perhaps those comments are encapsulated within what's already been provided.
Well, certainly I'd like to get some feedback from our management team in regards to parking, first of all, and then hours of operation. I'd like to make a comment as well.
So are you referring to parking at the Legion, or are you referring to parking?
Parking at the Legion, then, if we're going to stick with the Legion as the first item of discussion.
That's the one we're talking about right now, yes. So what specifically are you concerned about in terms of parking?
Just the issues that have been raised in regards to the lack of parking for seating of maximum capacity that is mentioned here in our brief.
Okay, I didn't know if that was an issue at the Legion specifically, but I know that it was concerned by the neighboring development of 1840 Beaufort, where they were suggesting that there might be people parking there that are using the Legion, but that may be one issue. I think the Legion has provided a letter of response for that, but I don't know if there's any other comments that staff have in that regard.
There's, under the proposed change from a club to a liquor primary license, so there will be a drop in total liquor capacity. So they're currently under the club license allowed 411 persons, and that would drop down to 175. Their intent is to also allow, not only to allow the upper floor, otherwise known as the ground floor, from Comox Avenue, Comox Avenue, to be used as part of the liquor primary, but also to host a public assembly type gatherings such as weddings, community events, and for that they would be required 19 vehicle parking spaces on site, which they would meet that minimum requirement. So they're currently have available 35. vehicle parking spaces, so they'd be quite in excess of that requirement. In terms of the license hours, the proposed recommendation would see a reduction in the license hours from what they currently have under the club license and what was proposed, down to closing of midnight from
1 a.m.
Yes, and that would be, so, recommendation, sorry, just scroll. Would be closing of midnight Sunday to Thursday and 1 a.m. on the main days, Friday and Saturday.
Right, so, I don't know if that addresses your concerns or comment, Councillor McKay?
The parking it does, the hours of operation, I have great respect for the Legion and for what they do for the community and particularly in their pointing out to our community about remembering the service to our country and the members. Having said that, I'm not sure about a midnight opening on weeknights from Monday to Thursday, and wondering if that might 11 p.m. closing time might be considered. Monday to Thursday, weekends Friday, Saturday to 12 midnight. Well, either council might entertain that.
That could be a motion if you wish to make that as amendment to the recommendation.
And they can be separate motions. We can do Monday to Thursday first, 11 p.m. closing time. And I'd like to speak to that motion
And I
just
would
briefly.
second that.
Okay, well, sure, go ahead and speak to it. It's been moved and seconded.
Just one comment is that years ago, having been a pub manager, when you say an 11 p.m. closing, that doesn't mean everybody departs the building at 11 o'clock. That means your last call is happening 15 minutes before, and people will leave the building, if you're lucky, within a half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. So on weekdays, people should consider that as well in making this decision. And that's Monday to Thursday. Friday, same thing. If you close at 12 midnight, that doesn't mean everybody leaves at 12 midnight.
Okay, so you're speaking about Sunday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday, sorry? Was it Sunday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday?
Sunday to Thursday.
Thank you. All right, so anybody else wish to comment on that?
Sure, can we I just want some clarification. So we're thinking from Sunday to Thursday 11 and then Friday, Saturday to midnight? Is that-
Right now, we're just talking about Sunday to Thursday.
Okay, so we're not talking about that.
Not yet about the weekend.
So if we wanted to look at this further and say we figured that maybe 11 o'clock is a little too early and we wanted to go to midnight, I guess this is a question for the planner. What would the process be? Would we have to go through this entire process again, just to change it by an hour, or?
Yes, they would if they were approved at that level.
Yeah.
The liquor board would have to come.
If our recommendation was to, at a set time closing, and then the province put that in their license, and they wanted to then expand it, then there would be an amendment to their existing license application.
And that would be this process all over again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Arnott.
Yeah, so we have the social room just down the street somewhere over here. They're allowed to be open until midnight.
Correct.
So I think we're not putting Legion at a fair playing field if we're going to knock them down to 11 o'clock.
Keep in mind, this is only a recommendation from us, it's not our call, mission.
Right, okay, so I don't agree with that. I think we should have a level playing field.
All right, anything else?
Well, I guess for me, it would depend on what we do on Friday and Saturday, because, and I know we're not doing that, but maybe that's an amendment we could make, because I could see this being 11 o'clock Thursdays and then Friday, Saturday till midnight might be a
I
reasonable.
think that's what
compromise.
you will be proposing, but at this point, we're just dealing with 11.
Is that what you're thinking? Okay. You're not going to change your mind on me, are you? Okay, I'll leave it at that if that's where we're going.
I would point out that currently, the Legion has the ability to stay open from 11 to 1 a.m. Monday to Saturday, and then 11 a.m. to midnight on Sunday. And it's indicated here that their actual closing time is quite a bit earlier usually. I think they only stay open, obviously, if there's business for them. I don't have, I look at the Legion Legion is trying to stay viable as an organization, and I think we should reflect the fact that they've been good neighbors and good citizens, to say the least. And I don't see that this kind of thing will be subject to abuse. And of course, there are things like noise bylaws and things that can be brought into play. So I won't be supporting the amendments, but that's at least ones that have been proposed. I think they know how to run their show, and I think we should let them do it. So anyway, with that, Councillor Price, you're up.
Yes, and you raise a good point, and it says in the report that these are the hours they currently have, but that they never use. So it's unlikely to be a problem, but I think it gives some reassurance to the neighbourhood too. It's reflecting current practice, and these are longer hours than actually currently seems to be the norm anyway. So I don't see that it would be a handicap to them.
Right, so yes.
I just want to make one comment. This is the Legion we're talking about here. So I don't think we're going to be having any big rip-rappers going on there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
All right, so the motion at this point would be to recommend the amendment of hours of liquor services for Sunday to Thursday from midnight to 11 p.m. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is defeated. So, are there any subsequent or further amendments?
You had a further one, did you? To move that from Saturday and Friday and Saturday till midnight.
As opposed to 1 a.m.
As opposed to 1 a.m.
And
I'll second that.
Friday, Saturday, and was that including the Sunday as well? Oh no, we already did Sunday.
We did Sunday.
It's only 7 days in this week.
Sunday, yeah, Saturday to Sunday, I get it. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded, and any further discussions on that? Yeah.
So my only concern with the hours, and I think that you're probably right that the Legion have been good neighbors, but there are quite a few residences right in that very neighborhood, and I know from experience, if you have a pub that stays open late, it can be quite noisy at closing time sometimes, and I'm not suggesting that the Legion would be like that, but since we now have the social club, the Blackfin, a new one, a couple of new ones coming, there may be a really renewed vibrancy in our town, and I think back to when we had the Edgewater and the Lorne Hotel, and we were actually the nightlife place in town. And so I think you ought to be a little bit careful in this particular case, just with some existing neighbors that are right there and putting up with complaints in the future if the vibrancy starts going and people start actually using our town after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that would be, that's why I second this, and that's why I think midnight would be a pretty good time for on Fridays and Saturdays.
Right, any further discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'd just like to comment on the number of letters that we did receive regarding the late night opening and the changes that are going to be made in that neighborhood as a result of the Legion developing a whole new format. And I think we need to be considerate of those residents. So I think the midnight versus the 1 o'clock is certainly more appropriate.
On the Friday, Saturday. Okay, are you ready for the question?
Can you read the motion again, please?
No. Friday and Saturday to midnight, not 1 a.m. So that's as clear as I can make it. It's your motion, so you should know. In any event, all those in favor? Those opposed? 2 opposed, motion's carried. All right, moving on. Were there any other amendments to the recommendations? Seeing none, all those in favor of the recommendations as amended? Any opposed? 1 opposed, motion's carried. All right, we'll move on to 2040 Guthrie Road, which is the Land and Sea Brewing application, brew pub. And this is to, first of all, we receive all the correspondence. Motion?
Move.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Motion's carried. And then, again, the comments have been summarized by staff based on the input received. And in terms of all the issues that have been raised, I think it's fairly comprehensive. So in order to put this on for discussion, a motion to make those comments and make those recommendations would be in order.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Okay, seconder for that? Move. Okay, so discussion. So this is recommendation and so on, all the details are outlined in the report, and staff will provide the comments. So Councillor Arnold.
Yeah, I think this is building up to be a great little neighborhood establishment. He's aware of the hours here. They're similar to what the Legion are going to be. So I think he's addressed some of the issues from some of the residents who live behind him there, and I think it's a good business model, and I'd like to see it move forward.
Okay. Any further discussion on any of these? Yes.
I must clarify, as I like to have a beer once in a while, and however, I feel the same way on weekdays, that Sunday to Thursday, that an 11 o'clock closing time would be more appropriate, particularly
It's already
in that
10
location.
p.m. It's 10 p.m. from Sunday to Wednesday, and closing at 11.
He might want 11, though.
Keep talking. Correct me if I'm wrong, staff. but-
Sorry, I've got my notes here,
It
10
is
p.m.
10.
on Wednesday, yes.
12 noon to 10.
So you don't have to stay up that late. All right, so, so Sunday to Wednesday, 10 p.m., Thursday to Saturday, 11 p.m. The only downside to that is, I play hockey late on Friday nights, couldn't you stay open like another, well, I guess I'll go to the league.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, so, any event, go ahead.
I just comment. I know we have tried to accommodate additional parking and bicycling spaces, but I do see this as a problem for this particular development. I'm in support of it because I think a lot of people will walk there, but, and perhaps the businesses could make some arrangements for after-hours parking or something. But I do think this may be a problem for the surrounding businesses. So it concerns me.
Right, no, and I think we've received some feedback on that. It's interesting, when we look at our downtown, we did allow for expansion, additional restaurant and pub space without providing more parking. So the idea being that in evenings, when most of the time people will be there, there's plenty of on-street parking. I guess in this area there might be some more limitations in that regard, but again, it's close to residential areas. I would hope that many people would avail themselves of the ability to walk or perhaps cycle there. So I would say, it's always a challenge. I think this applicant obviously is doing their best to make it work and to deal with issues on an ongoing forward basis. So I feel comfortable with it, but it is a concern, of course, that people have raised. Councillor Grant, then Price.
Thank you very much. As I was trying to get a little more background on just exactly what was involved with the brewery, and may I start again with, I strongly support the wonderful idea of the breweries that are coming to our town. We've been waiting for something like this for a long time. But having said that, there's just one point that I would like to have some clarification on. Because I went into Google to learn more about what breweries are all about and the wastewater problem and the solids resulting from the whole process. And of course, in addition to that, we have water problems, that are being addressed, but we have wastewater problems here that still are pending. So just to know exactly if we as a town are prepared for these issues, i.e. the wastewater and the solids, I'd like to
Sure, staff can comment on that.
Staff.
And I think there was a letter, I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't,
received
no.
Today by email. And,
I haven't gone through this.
There was a letter from the applicant indicating what they have to do, but
Good.
the solids. Perhaps the planner can refer us to that.
Yes, town bylaw 713 sets limits, acceptable limits for the characteristics of sewage, so they would have to adhere to that. And copies of that bylaw have been presented to both proposed breweries, this one and the one at 215 Port Augusta. The letter that you mentioned from, or submission from Jason Walker in regards to solids, noted that they're proposing to have same-day pickup of spent brewing grain, and 2 local farmers would be picking up the grain for animal feed, and those farmers would also at the same time be picking up the food scraps. So that was clarified in this submission today.
So the points have been covered. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, that's good to have that discussed. Was there anybody else who had comments?
And I think it was very similar. It seemed that the concerns revolved around parking and also concerns about rat infestation and when you have food products and generally byproducts. So we are confident that this will all be dealt with in a way that will not exacerbate or bring a problem to the area with regard to rodents. Is that correct?
The applicant also clarified in his submission that he has to meet storage requirements in regards to the provincial regulator. And they have their own vested interest since they're storing grain and it costs them in terms of ensuring that they're not losing grain to that. They're proposing both continual inspection of not just the building, but the actual site itself, making sure that there's no available food to attract rodents, and also keeping things clean as part of the ongoing efforts to avoid any kind of a rodent problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think part of that was, I think almost all of that was related to the U Brew Winery next door that had some issues and they resolved those. So it doesn't seem like it's an ongoing issue and hopefully it won't reoccur. All right, so are you ready for the question on this one in terms of supporting motions? Seeing no hands, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, and now we will move to the one at the mall, 315 Port Augusta Street, and that's first of all to receive the correspondence.
Second.
On receipt of correspondence, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And again, staff have provided a summary of comments on this New Tradition Brewing Company application and deal with the issues that some of which have been discussed here. In terms of recommendations, the only subject to really is the provision of bicycle parking spaces. So other than that, I don't know if there's other comments that...
I'm trying to find the hours on it, I can't find it.
I don't see
9
it.
till 12 midnight.
9 till midnight.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yes.
There is a breakdown on page 201 proposed hours of all the applications before you today and the existing licenses. That's an attachment form. That makes it a little easier to see.
Okay, so they're going to be open until midnight. Okay.
I'm just wondering about the 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Same.
Because the only guy I've seen above that early is you. And I'm just wondering,
That was a prohibition.
is that to do with food service or what are we?
Maybe you forgot to leave the name.
There is, to my knowledge, no proposed food service other than light snacks
Oh,
in that proposed development.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the other ones are 10 or 11. I can't imagine it being a particular issue, but maybe for some people it will be. I don't know. And they'll only obviously open if there's business, right?
Is it the restaurant that was open at 9?
There could be a bistro part to it. I can't second guess it. That's what they've applied for, unless council has, I guess, a real concern about that. I think you just leave it to the applicant. I think the hours of operation issue may be more towards the end of the day rather than the beginning, but there you be. So, short of an amendment being proposed, is there any further comments?
I bet it's to accommodate the opening of the mall. And that's
It could be.
probably-
Could very well be.
Because it's in a mall.
Good point.
Now, just one last thing. There was a lady here earlier asking me about the exact location of this, and I tried to explain it, but have we got a picture of the exact location that we could bring up? And she was concerned that there was, the brewery was in one part of the mall and the seating areas and stuff was in another part of the mall. That's not my understanding, but I just wanted to be clear on that.
We did have a picture with the original application, but
It's not there now.
It's right at the southeast entrance.
Yes.
Yeah, facing
Right.
where those slab buildings are.
Yes.
Straight up there.
former dental office, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all one place,
Yeah.
and both indoor and outdoor seating. All right, so, anything further? Councilor McKinnon?
Just one closing comment. I just wondered that, again, the 12 midnight close, I don't think it's fair, as mentioned earlier, to have different closing times for different institutions. The reason I thought this might be an exception is that it's in the mall, and I'm sure they had to take into consideration security and those issues that might be when they're closing their premises, and it's now after midnight, and people have consumed some liquor, and we have stores right next to them, etc.
I don't think they'll be accessing necessarily through the mall, they'll be accessing from outside.
Yeah.
All right, so seeing nothing further by way of amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so that takes care of those three applications, I do believe. So we're moving on to page 203, I believe, which is the, speaking of the mall, the cannabis regulation amendments. I think this is to potentially allow for such a business to be located in a certain area of the mall. Is that correct? Yes. And that'll be subject, obviously, to giving a first, second, and third reading, and then public hearing and so on. First, second, and third reading for the business regulation, and then first and second for the zoning and public hearing and so on.
So I'll move first, second, and third reading.
Of the business regulation amendment?
Yes.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
And now I'll move first and second of the zoning amendment bylaw.
Thank you. And any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Public hearing to be held September 19th, 7 p.m. at the
I'll move
State.
that.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried, and that staff be instructed to publish notice in accordance with the community charter.
Move.
Seconder for that?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so that'll come back to us after that public hearing, which is on the 19th. All right, so we'll move on to special reports for receipt for the district board meeting minutes of both July 24th and August.
Move receipt.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. No other bylaws. Under new business, we have the planning report on the Comox Grind Parklet Agreement renewal for 2019 and recommendation.
Move.
Second.
So the recommendation is that it be renewed, subject to those conditions for the year 2019. Any discussion?
I've always been concerned about this one, just simply because I'd like a bigger barricade adjacent to that parking space. I'm just fearful somebody's going to put their car into drive rather than reverse to get out of there. So other than that, I'm completely happy with this application.
All right. Anything further? Councillor Arnott, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, with that, we could get one of those higher curb things.
Yes.
But one of the things we do have, I believe, in this is the cleanliness of them. And I think as we move forward with these parklets, that we have something that the owner has to clean it once a year underneath. I'm finding some of them are getting a lot of grime underneath them and this stuff builds up, and we talked about rats and whatnot, especially for serving food, that it can drop in between the cracks. So it's something that's...
Saying you don't want to let anything fall between the cracks.
That's right, yeah.
All right, well, short of you carrying a broom up there to clean it, is that something that the owner-operator should be looking after, Steve? And is there not provision for that already?
Yes, the town can require it. The council can also add it as a condition to this approval at the time, and then the message is clear to the town that they'll have to raise their parklet and clean underneath.
All right, well, that's probably something we should consider adding then.
And that's what I was thinking, as we go forward, because these are a popular addition to the little stores that we have here, and I think as we move forward, the owner would know automatically they're going to have to lift this thing up somehow, clean underneath it.
So right now, number 7 condition says provision for owner maintenance of the parkland, including snow and leaf removal. Is that, you want something more than that?
I think that if you just add an additional condition that along the lines that the parklet be raised and cleaned underneath, I think it hasn't been moved itself since its construction and put in place, I think, 2-3 years ago. So.
All right, so can you guys figure out some wording for that?
We can put in a magic word too.
Okay, so on that, everybody okay with that? Staff with the wording on that? And so with that, those amended conditions, anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. And I'm going to ask Councillor McKinnon to come take the chair here. I got to clear my conflict of interest.
From this block party we're going to tonight.
Yeah.
Only for advice.
So we have an item here to discuss, and that is the street closure of Highway Drive Block Party. That the town of Comox road permit application we received August 30th. That the request to close the cul-de-sac portion of High Ridge Drive between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Saturday, September 8th be approved, subject to all emergency service providers being notified and the applicant meeting all other conditions of the town of Comox road permit. The application was made by Paula Ives. I know that name.
Well, that's deniable right there. I'll move that just so we can
Yeah,
deal
and
with
I'll
it
second
later.
it.
So we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion necessary on this?
Are we invited?
Oh, that's it.
That's my question. I haven't received my invitation
No.
yet, so I might abstain. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Could somebody notify?
It sounds like it's not.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. All right, so, where are we at?
So, Your Worship, we all want gold seal invitations to your party.
Well, it's BYOB, which means bring it over. And don't forget to sign the waiver on the way in.
I'll be out by 11 though.
You have to go home at 11.
Yes, Councillor McKinnon has to leave at 10. All right, correspondence, I do believe we're at now. First of all, to receive the Cancer Tour to Rock.
Second.
And they're looking for the usual
And we grant them their usual things.
I assume that's pretty standard in CAO. That's correct. All right, and that's probably Paula wondering if I got the water. Anyway, I would say that I won't be here during their visits, so hopefully members of council or the acting mayor will be able to participate in their travel through Comox, which appears to be in the afternoon around 3 o'clock. And of course, there is also the Red Surge Spaghetti dinner at Accord de Lille that evening, and I know there's been an invitation granted for that, or submitted for that. So that's whatever dates those are. I think Twyla has those dates. All right, all those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so now we're at the UBCM Green Committee letter of congratulations to successfully achieving a goal of corporate carbon neutrality for the 2017 reporting year.
Move receipt.
Thank you. And any further on that, CO? That's pretty standard. We get that every year. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And we have also the letter that comes about this time of year for Remembrance Day at the Legion, looking for the usual commissions on both November 10th, which is I believe a Friday, and Saturday, November 11th.
I move receipt and that we grant them the permission, including the line that they've given us in here about the flyby.
Oh yes, the flyby.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so that takes care of correspondence, and we now have reports from members of council. So we'll start with Councillor Cameron.
Well, So I attended the regional district meeting. We talked about expanded handy dart service. We also granted a tax exemption for the Union Bay Historical Society, Sunnydale Golf Course, and the rural directors dealt with the Sackville Road water bottling plant where they denied the application. So those are the highlights of that meeting. I've also met with the director of the Economic Development Society a couple of times just on various issues to do with the town and where they can enhance and help us out in the future. And that's my report.
All right, Councillor Gunn on this side.
Oh, thank you. It must be some holidays. I have only one attendance that I can report on, and that is the Comox Valley Exhibition. I had the pleasure of representing the town of Comox.
Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I can't remember if you reported this last one, but a number of us attended the Spitfire dinner. Ryan Stocky Edwards established a trust fund for young aviators in his name on August 8th. A children's peace concert at Marina Park down here, August 12th, sponsored by the Alberni Project, and had a good turnout there. The HMCS Quadra Cadet graduation on August 10th. The volunteer Yana Ride, which was in Marina Park, and a great event for our community to host there. The 22nd of August, the Comox Library Summer Reading Program wrap-up. The 28th, the Homeless Coalition meeting. They prepared, by the way, a brief for political candidates in the upcoming municipal election, which they're going to be make available. August 30th, the Comox First Nations multicultural event with the Taiwanese Youth Choir at the Big House. And the 31st, the Town of Comox Parks Department retirement function for Dale Green and Terry. That's my report.
Councillor Arnott.
Yes, thanks. I too attended with myself and Councillor McKinnon the retirement party for a couple of staff and a luncheon for Inspector Tim Walton through the Community Justice Center. We bid him a fond farewell, and that's all I have to report.
Okay, Councillor Swift.
Just attended the Coburg board meeting, and preliminary numbers look like they had an increase in their profits from the festival from the year before, so they're pleased with that. And they do have an event coming up at the end of the month, I believe the 23rd, called Grazing in the Park. Tickets for it are $150, and it's a 1 to 4 event on Sunday. You can get them at Cascadia if you want, or you can ask me and I will deliver one to you. So this is a first year. It's being organized by Kira Rogers, who has also done the Tofino Wine and Food Festival. So we'll see how this goes.
Great. Councillor Price.
Well, I attended the Regional District Board meeting, and I think it's been well covered. And I'm just trying to work out, when was our last council meeting?
August 1st.
August 1st. So we all missed the Goldberg.
No, we were all there, but that's such
We
old
did.
news.
I couldn't remember.
So yes, ditto, old news. We also attended, all of us attended a sewage commission meeting, a water committee, the regional district cow, and a 3L board meeting, and then the RD board meeting with a public hearing afterwards on the regional growth strategy. The public hearing was about the amendment to the regional growth strategy to look at a proposed change that would only allow the regional district board to initiate an amendment and not a proponent, and then followed by a process to determine whether it's a minor or major amendment. And at the Sewage Commission, we had the South Sewer Select Committee meet with us, and because we have agreed to look at a study for bringing sewerage from the south end up to our treatment plant. All costs of that study would be to Area A. The Greenwood and Hudson Trunk metering strategy has been worked out, so that whether it's Comox or Courtney, what shares we're putting into it. With the Water Committee, the treatment plant Request for proposals was approved based on the tiebreaker method of selecting the best option, which is when bids come in a similar range, then they're looked at in terms of the amenities, the different benefits that they're offering, and judged on that. Community employment benefits, the feds are asking applicants when large grant applications go in, which our treatment plant will be a large grant application. With the community employment, they've identified 3 groups that we need to be showing what involvement they have, and that's Indigenous people, apprentices, and underrepresented populations, which I think includes women. And yes, we mentioned about the increase to BC Transit, that we're looking at increasing by handed out by 1,500 hours, as at present there's no weekend service, evening or weekend service, and we've handed out transit. BC Transit actually pays 2/3 of the cost versus 50% for the conventional service. And with the 3L board meeting, we did approve the consultation plan, and it's based on what we're basing it on is 2 open houses as well as a public hearing, and that will probably take till April rather than a more lightweight version, which was a public hearing and looking at the website. And there is, I think it's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at 7 at Florence Filbert.
Yes.
That's the open house for 3 hours if you're interested in what they're doing.
Okay. Oh, I do have a question regarding.
Go ahead.
Okay, so with the Greenwood trunk and diverting more sewage to that, the sewage cleaning station, whatever the heck you call it there. Pump station. Are they doing anything to mitigate the smells down there? Because it's always been a problem with the smell, and now with more sewage, do they expect it?
Talking about the Courtney Pump Station?
No, the one by Curtis.
The treatment plant
Yeah, the
itself.
treatment plant, yeah.
Yeah.
So as more gets diverted that way.
It is.
I'll allow you to.
Yeah.
It is an ongoing process, and it should be complete very soon, the work down there that will minimise any smell from the plant.
So there's been a lot of work done in the last 2 years, and I don't know how many millions of dollars have been put into
Like
that.
scrubbers and type
All
of
of
things.
that.
Okay, 'cause I was down there the other day, and it was quite.
Yeah.
Well, they're in the middle of doing some of it, so
Yeah.
it could be worse now, but that's
Okay.
what they're getting rid of, so that is in the works.
Just wondering about
Still the
that.
same amount of sewage is going out, it's just going in a different direction.
Yeah, that's true. All right, same thing, but a different line.
More of it's flowing downhill than All right, so I'll just briefly report, in a couple of change of command for you, one for 19 Air Maintenance Squadron. Major Maggie, I think it is, Jacula, who is taking over from Sylvester Bishop. And at the 407 Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Castonguay is taking over from Lieutenant Colonel Gagnon. Also attended a tourism board retreat event up at Mount Washington. The Vancouver Island Tourism Board was having a board retreat. So Comox Valley Economic Development hosted them for a reception that evening, so I represented there. The retirement party this one mentioned for Dale Green and Terry Carson. And yeah, just a reminder, this Friday is the Mayor's Cherry Golf Tournament, 10th annual, and we'll be up at Crown Isle, hopefully not too much rain. So we'll represent there and hopefully raise a bunch more money for the causes that the organization has been good at supporting over the last number of years. And I think that's it, other than I will be away the next 2 weeks after UBCM, and so Councillor McKinnon, you'll have the chair for the council meeting on the 19th and the committee of the whole on the 26th. And anything else that happens during those 2 weeks.
So is this your final meeting?
No.
No?
We have meetings in October, I think so. Yeah, a couple more to go, and otherwise, happy campaigning for those who are campaigning.
Is there such a thing?
So, with that, any questions? Any questions of public? Yes.
I'll go ahead then. I submitted something about
Sorry, your
Comox
name?
Small.
Your name, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Elizabeth Covington,
Yes?
and I live at Fairway Place.
Okay.
And I submitted some questions about the stipulations at the Comox Small Pub, and I wondered if those were addressed or if anything was going to...
If your letters were, or emails were sent in, when did you send them to us?
I'm sorry,
When
I'm
did-
hardly deaf.
When did you send them to us?
August 30th.
Yes.
I have a copy.
We would have received those.
Yeah, it was received. I have a copy of the receipt.
Yeah, so those were all received along with many other submissions, and those comments were taken into account. I don't recall specifically what your questions were, but certainly council had the chance to review all that prior to tonight's meeting.
Okay, so that'll be, it's not a done deal.
Well, it's up to the liquor board now at this point to take the comments that we have passed here tonight, and they'll be the ones issuing the license, or not, depending on. So, any further questions, I don't know, you can certainly ask staff, and maybe answer your questions, but there may be other questions that the liquor board will have to ask.
Do we send all the letters to the liquor board also that we
I think we do, yes. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
receive? Okay. Thank you. So your letter will go to the liquor
Yes, it's all part of the record, that's why we received those all tonight. So they will be forwarded to the liquor board with our comments as well.
Okay, I know that they were in the folder because they made me a copy.
Yes, no, we did receive them, and I think you saw Councilor.
Okay, I just have some, because there's quiet time all the way around at Berwick and Fairway and Stevenson, and I think that anything they're doing outside should be moved inside at 10 o'clock at night.
Well, that's something that the liquor board could consider, but that'll be up to them.
So will those questions go to the liquor board office?
If your letter was submitted, yes, they will go as part of the record, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilor, former Councilor.
Future councilor.
Once a councilor, always a councilor.
Thank you, Worship. Don Davis, Comox. Just a little bit further to the,
Another day.
Sorry,
just a little bit further, another question regarding the correspondence that's received by these applicants
Yes,
that are in opposition.
yes.
Do the applicants have the opportunity to address those
Yes.
concerns, or do?
Yes,
They have.
they already have in some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha. Process will ensue at the liquor board, so that's where it goes. All right, no other questions? No other items coming for the meeting tonight? Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
In favor? Meeting adjourned.